And here we have a line of yet more British classics. Drive GT6 Mark III, a Stag, a Sunbeam Rapier, I think this is. Glorious window that comes all the way down, seamless, pillarless, lovely little gear stick. Dials look amazing in this as well. MG Midget, a later one with a rubber bumper or plastic bumper. MGB Roadster, in fact there's two of them. TVR, I think this one's a Chimera N-Reg. In quite a low seating position in these and a very short stubby gear shifter. Yep, Chimera, been to the Nürburgring as well. That's a journey I must make at some point, whether it's in the Panda or the Mini. Panda I imagine would be quite fun. Not entirely sure on this particular model, it seems to be a Morris. Have a look at that, lovely interior on the car. And MGB GT later model. And down there the museum are actually displaying one of their exhibits as well. It's an Austin 7, one of the original cars that sold extremely well in the world. Certainly more of the conventional, shall we say. Little Pratt's bit on the side there. Quite a simple layout, but it was one of the cars that got Britain motoring. Cheap, affordable, 1928. One of the most significant British cars ever. Introduced in 1922, the mass-produced Baby Austin combined big car features with a low car price. It soon became a bestseller. In just a few years, the Austin 7 changed the face of British motoring and the fortunes of the Austin Motor Company. This car is a Tourer or Chummy model. Brand new, this would have cost you £125 with a top speed of 50 miles an hour. 747cc, 4-cylinder side valve engine, 10.5 horsepower. Made at Longbridge, Birmingham. So there we go, significant little car and a tiny bit of history on it. I really like these. If I was to get a vintage car, probably one of these would be quite high up on the list. A Crayford Cortina GT. As we were walking around, just having a quick look earlier on, it was a car made by Genevieve's dad, but it was quite a popular car for beheading rock stars, pop stars of the 60s and 70s, this car. Not this particular one, but the model. It's got Jackie X on the side there. I don't think he was beheaded in one of these. MGB GT, Jag Mark II, TR6, the MG Roadster, midget next to a Rover SD1 3500 SE or 3500. Love the huge exhaust, and this is so big for the car. With a simple dashboard that can be easily moved from one side of the car to the other for left and right hand drive, very simple. The air vent that blocks the hole where the steering wheel would be if it was on the other side of the car. So, creative solution. Another Stag, Austin A40. Lovely little car, my dad had one of these, he absolutely loved it. Another TVR. Have a look under the bonnet of this. This to be TVR's own engine. Lovely engine, many silicone hoses in there. Twin fans as well. MGA, I think this is. Yep, MGA 1600. This is an Invicta. I know nothing of this particular brand of car. What I can say is the detailing on this is sublime. The gear stick just there. Looks to be quite simply laid out, but it works. There's nothing to complain about. That'd be your handbrake, I'd imagine, for the rear wheels. Big old lamps on there. And just before it leaves, a Ford Popular, also known as the E93A. Lovely little cars these. My dad had one of these as his first car. This one I think is 1957. The funny thing is, it's quite an old style of car, but it's actually younger than go to the A30 over there. Austin Healey 3000 Mark III. Definitely a poster car of young children back in the day. This is something quite different. It's Rustin, the Shrew Barn Find modified Austin A30 from 1955. Would have cost £475 when new. Uses an Austin Maestro 1275cc engine, twinned with a Mazda MX-5 gearbox. It's got a Volkswagen supercharger, which is just here, dominating the engine bay. You can even see the VW badge on there. Other bits come from MG, Mini, Mazda, Peugeot, Vauxhall, BMW, Honda, Suzuki, and some plumbers. So quite a lot has gone into this one, especially the little air vent in the side just there. So it's going to be quite a different driving experience from this A30 to Genevieve's dad's over there. Next to the supercharged Austin A30, MGTD, little tiny sports car. I think from the pre-war years. Need very thin legs to go underneath that steering wheel, but very long position. The throttle pedal looks absolutely tiny. I don't know how well it's showing up on camera. It looks tiny. Wooden dashboard, tiny little rear view mirror, your wiper controls. I love the colour on this as well, it really suits it. Something a bit different, MGF, a newer MG. This would be sort of mid-90s, just have a quick look at the number plates. T-Row, so late 90s with this one. We're sort of carrying the same sort of, I guess, promise of the original MG sports cars, with fun, fairly cheap price, very affordable, especially as they were at the time. This car was bought in Portsmouth, so really not that far away from Beaulieu. Mid-engined, used the Rover K Series engine, or MG K Series. It was obviously MG Rover at that point. Product, joint venture, I'll say. Indicators, that's very similar to the Minis ones. In fact, it might well be the same part, who knows. Yes, these things are really very much classics now. Land Rover Defender 90, very popular car with the agricultural world. Austin Healey 3000. Next to the Healey 3000, an Austin 1010. Again, a car I know nothing about. That's a soundtrack that filled many people's childhoods, especially here in the UK. The roads as well. Sunbeam Alpine, we saw this at the party. Came down with Jordan and Chantel. Lovely car. I think it needs a tiny bit of work. I know this was Hubnut's favourite car at the Fuel Power party. He really liked it. Why not? It's a great looking car. Really traditional style, great lines. Next to the Sunbeam, MGB Roadster. Gertie the A30, Genevieve's dad, he's come down in this today. We convoyed down here from the house.
So what's that 17 mean? 17?
805cc engine. Always put cards on the windscreen as well. Very simple layout on the dashboard. I know I've shown this before in previous videos, but I can't ignore it. It's a great looking van. I really like this. Hopefully one day I'll review it on the channel. He's got all the tools in here, made to look like a traditional carpenter's van. That's what Genevieve's dad does as a job. He's a carpenter. His dad was as well, so he's done it as a bit of a... Genevieve's dad is a carpenter by trade, and so is his dad, so he's done it as a bit of a tribute to his dad, basically, which I think is quite a nice little detail. All the sign written graphics on the side. Yes, it is vinyl. I think the plan is in the future maybe get it actually sign written by hand. It'd be a lovely detail on this. We can see the traditional style of ladder. It's got a little cloth over the back as well to obviously mark out that it's a tiny bit longer than the van otherwise would be. Yeah, original flasks and radio. Obviously got a few little modern things like Genevieve's bag in here, but other than those, lovely little van. I really like Gertie. Holes in there where mirrors were mounted previously, something is going to be done about those in the future. I think also there's quite a bit of work planned for Gertie over winter. Same with Millie actually. Both the cars are going to have a fairly significant amount of work done to both of them, or van in this case. We might have a few videos from both Gertie and Millie with their work over winter. We shall see, it depends what happens with them. May 1968 MGB. It's a Roadster. I always point this out at shows, but I love the single speaker in there. I've also got trade stands with a few little car related pieces down here. Auto Glim. This event's got our Tim, another YouTuber. He's down here doing the main presentations for the People's Choice Awards, and the light today he's also filming his own video, so obviously go and check his channel out. Rover Mini, I think this is a Japanese import, judging by the number plate placement. I guess the colour also, it's a little bit different. But also it's got air conditioning, which is the largest giveaway with these things. So it's single point injection rather than multi-point injection, as many Minis were at this point. But it had to be single point injection because otherwise they didn't have room to cram the air conditioning unit in there. Gorgeous little Mini. This one is in British Leyland Aqua as a colour. It really stands out. I think Matt Pink's Mini Isla is actually quite similar to this particular colour. He certainly tries to make Isla look a bit of a 70s throwback. So I imagine this has been quite a large inspiration for that colour. Central speedo and all the little details and dials. Rev counter, voltmeter, vacuum, everything you could possibly need. Austin Healey 3000 Mark II this one. Yellow lights for the win. Little Triumph, MGB GT. An Innocenti Mini. Imported into the UK in 2011, thought to be only 21. Lovely dials with everything in there in Italian as well. Morris badge on there, or label to mark it out. Cooper 1300, so although not technically a British car by build, it's still obviously based on the British Mini. Even though it's built in Italy, yeah, it gets a bit confusing, doesn't it? MG Magnet ZA. Front seats have been upholstered, rest of the interior is the original, and the external bodywork has been resprayed, and it looks gorgeous. Early-ish MGB next to an Austin Healey Sprite. This is a Rover Mini Sprite, which is a bit different. It's basically the same spec as my Mini City. However, I called the Sprite because it had the larger, more sporty, more powerful 1275cc engine. Also, I think, especially by this point in the mid-90s, had injection, as you can see on there, and also the ECU for all that stuff. Very original in here. Now the seats also had uprated seats, and by this point I think it also had a lot more strengthening in the doors and the side panels and everything for side impacts, because safety regs had changed quite considerably by then. There's a lot of talking to do about these things, because although the Mini fundamentally didn't change, there was a lot of smaller subtle changes underneath throughout time. Another little MGB. Oh, I like the fuel cap on this. Meanwhile, Lotus Esprit Turbo. Always commented on this on videos, but I love the imprint of the Lotus name in there. That's just a detail I adore on it. That I think might well have been an aerial fuel cap. I can see it's been done in gold, which I'm imagining would be a bit of a reference to the John Player special Lotus cars of that sort of time period. Rover 100, this I think is a 114, yes it is, SLI. Only had two other owners apart from my current one, 21,000 miles from new. This car is called Mavis, which is very nice. Because based on the ever popular Rover Metro, and obviously prior to that Austin Metro, just like this one here. I think this one might well be the same model, just a different colour. No it isn't, it's a Rover 100 Kensington, so a special edition. Big fan of GWR FM Wiltshire's radio, Great Western Radio I'd imagine. Probably based around Swindon I would have thought. Austin A35, so we've already looked at the A30 van. A35 had slight differences, the body didn't really have a huge amount of difference with it, still same style of doors. Obviously this is the saloon version, but 80 mile an hour speedo, whereas the A30 only has 70. It's also got the horseshoe style grille around the front, whereas the A30 did not. It was a bit more flat, and also A30 was chrome only, these were coloured. Nice little car, introduced October 1956. It's a direct replacement for the A30, which had been Austin's first all-new post-war small car, and also the first true chassisless car produced by a British manufacturer. Morris Marina Coupe, twin carburettor. Quite like these. These were used on many different models of cars, including the Allegro and the Rover SD1. I think it was even used on some higher models, I guess, like supercar, sports car range, shall we say. Next to that, another Marina. And say what you want about the Marinas for their reliability and the jokes with pianos and the like from Top Gear, but they are actually quite a good looking car. Especially when on mini lights like this one, I really like that. Another Rolls Royce, I don't know the model, I'm not too big on my Rolls Royce knowledge. Spirit of ecstasy though. That'll never not be cool with those things. TR6 Triumph, just have a quick look underneath the bonnet. Inside the interior, very brown. Lovely dash. I'm trying to go through a little bit more quickly at this point because cars are leaving. Ford Sierra Sapphire Cosworth. A little bit less power than the Sierra Cosworth itself, but certainly just as fun, I'd imagine. Maybe not as quick, but it's miles per gallon and all that. Meanwhile, this is a Jaguar S-Type 3.8 manual with overdrive from 1965, opalescent dark green. And it's got a tan interior. Look at the armrest, that's gorgeous. Rover P5, lovely looking car. So he brings an air of luxury to the world, to say the least. Have a look in there. Automatic gearbox, lovely classical radio. Very simple, very nicely laid out. It's even got a tow bar, so extra towing goodness. 3.5 litre. Little Land Rover. I think it's 1965 it said on the front. 1965 Series 2A 2.250 petrol, and is for sale. Over £10,000, so this car could be yours. 74 and a bit thousand miles. Obviously big wheels, very traditional style of Land Rover. I like that. Austin Healey Frog Eye Sprite. Lotus Cortina, we've already had a look at one of those. And a Princess. Fairly similar body, by which I mean pretty much identical to the Austin 1100 and Morris 1100s. Just another brand on it. What's also quite nice is we've got ice cream vans. And they're Ford Transits, which of course again a British vehicle. Okay, they might not be pre-2000 like the majority of the cars here. 2004, but they were built not too far away in Southampton. It's only about half an hour from Beaulieu. Ford Zodiac, bringing a lovely bit of style to UK roads. Another Morris Minor Traveller. Triumph GT6 Mark III. Love those things. Obviously front end very much Spitfire based, but you've seen the car next to it, you know what it is. It's a DeLorean DMC-12, and whilst the car was owned by an American businessman, it's still very much a car from the United Kingdom, built in Belfast, Northern Ireland. DeLorean in Chicago, 2nd of November 1981. Goldwing doors, you can't not love those. Simple layout in there. I like the strap which you have to use to pull the door down. Stainless steel body. Underpinnings from the, I think it's the Lotus Esprit. And engine from either Volvo or Renault. I really must fact check that, I can't remember off the top of my head. Big chunky wheels at the back, smaller wheels at the front. Meant to be a sports car, although it had the looks, it wasn't necessarily the sportiest of cars ever to exist. I will say though, DeLorean are actually making a comeback. They've now got a new model coming out very, very soon, which I think it might well be already available to pre-order. I'm not quite sure, but I'm quite looking forward to see what they do with that and see how different it is to the car that it very much was based on or inspired by. 8 outer body panels, mild steel backbone frame chassis designed by Lotus, supplied by GKN, supporting cross members and 4-wheel independent suspension. There we go.
So
the engine in this, I've just found out as well, having a quick look at it, was a Duvrin alloy V6 PRV France, engine used by Peugeot, Renault and Volvo from 74 to 1998, unleaded fuel. 0 to 60 time 8.8 seconds, which I'd say is not the sportiest figure in the world, but what a car. Gotta love the looks of them, even if the story behind it was incredibly controversial. Lovely little car this, a Singer. Again, don't really know much about Singer as a brand. Mini indicator lenses on there by the looks of it. Lovely thing, about to head out. We can get it into gear. That's the thing with old cars, they can be a bit temperamental and that gives them character. And he's off. Land Rover Defender 110, so a slightly longer version of the 90. I think these have got about 9 seats, and this looks like it might well be set up for sleeping in. So there we go, if you want a car to sleep in and go camping in, Defender 110. Morris Mini Minor Traveller. Second one of the event in white. Lovely little picnic basket and the old style Bush radio. Love that. Fiesta 1.4 gear, Mark II generation. Creamy hubcaps. Again, a lovely little thing. Usually you only see the XR2 and XR2i's, obviously later models of Fiesta, but it's quite nice to see just a more basic version, I guess. Although with these it suggests there's an air of sportiness about it with the little imprints, I guess, down there and the spotlights on the front. Later, MGB is for sale, 35 years of documented history, so that's quite a significant amount of years of history for this car. It's called Maggie. But yes, this one is for sale, so it could be yours. Triumph TR8. Lovely looking thing. Little MG, I think this is based on, if I have a quick look, the MG Midget, the original one, yeah. But it's a different body on an MG Midget platform. It's quite nicely done, very tastefully. I like the steering wheel. I like the wide spoke wheels as well. Over P5. 2.5 litre, it's P5B even. 1971, 66,600 miles from new. Dispatched to Windsor, 4th of August 1971. It's done less than 10,000 miles since 1987. But it has been over to Germany and come back again. So, a little bit of history on that one. Metallic grey wasn't a standard colour on the Triumph TR6, but this one's been resprayed in it. It's quite nice. The original colour was blue, £25,000, and this car could well be yours as well. There's quite a few cars here for sale today. Something's had a bit of a leak underneath. Might well be this car. MG Model SA 1936. A Humber Super Snipe. Big car. Lots of space in there, however not as big a bit as you would have thought, because it is quite high up. Quite a load lip on this, but it is capable of towing, so you can add a trailer or something. The Wolseley 1660, plenty of plushies in the back of it. Oh, and I like the blanket over the front seat, that's quite nice. Doesn't have a light up badge though. Morris half-ton van from 1968. This one's called Freddy, which is very, very sweet. I have little running lights up here on the wing. The headlamp peaks, they're quite nice. All the traditional badging on there. It's a lovely looking van. Wolseley, this is another 1660, it's a saloon. Ryan Drive Home Market, Alaskan blue, and what a colour, it looks really nice. Quarter lights of the dashboard. Have a quick look in the boot, it must be quite sizable, and it is, look at that, that's huge. Little Wolseley 1300 Mark II, it's an automatic, so a little bit more luxurious than the Austin and Morris types, but still just as quick, I would imagine. Next to 1951 Lanchester LD10. Lanchester, I think, were quite popular as taxis back in the day, if I remember rightly. Not that I know much about Lanchester. The old Jag, MGB. That's looking at a Triumph, MG Midget. Let's look up this car because I'm not quite sure whether it is what it says it is. It says it's an AC Cobra on the badge of the car, but having a look at number plate recognition things, just as a bit of research, it's come up as an MG Hawk, MGB Hawk even. So I'm not quite sure. Please let me know about that in the comments below. MGB GT later on, an MGF. Sunbeam Alpine, 1725cc. Lovely Jag, GT6, MGB, or Rover, I think that's a P4 up there. Little Lotus Elite, they're incredibly rare these days. Very small and very low. Over here though, something much closer to my heart. A Mark III Transit, pre-facelift. It's a camper though. Again, another vehicle that had the soundtrack of my youth. These were absolutely everywhere when I was younger, both in van and camper form. It's got a tow bar, so you can take extra things with you, like a bike rack or a small trailer if you need extra space. Yeah, tiny little camper, USB charging ports on there. deep dish wheel. I think that's cool. Yes, pre-facelift as we've already mentioned, so no smiley face on this one. It looks nice. I'll try and Spitfire. Austin A35 van. So again, really not a huge amount of difference between the A30 and A35. I think the door shape was slightly different. They didn't quite have the same imprints in here. And obviously the speedo is different, slightly bigger engine as well. On the A35, I think it was 948cc. As opposed to 805 of the A30, so a bit quicker. Hence the slightly uprated speedometer. Triumph Vitesse, fairly similar to the Herald. 4 lamps on the front. Little tiny mirror up there. Dashboard. This is the final row. And we have this gorgeous little Riley Elf Mark II. I think the Elf as a model was the first of the mini type cars in later form, that is, to get the wind up windows. This one's obviously got sliding windows and external door hinges. Also out of this and the Wolseley Hornet, which of course were two more luxurious versions of the Mini and also a bit more spacious with the boot, the Elf was the only one to get a walnut dashboard, which was deemed to be the height of luxury back in the 1960s. This is 1964. I like these. I want to get an Elf at some point, or a Hornet. Either would please me. Little Austin Healey Frog Eye Sprite. An aerial motorbike. Very old school with this one. Absolutely love it. Look at the springs on the back. Chain driven. There's your footplate for your passenger on the back end. Triumph Daytona motorcycle, 900cc. And over here are the People's Choice Awards winners. There can be only one winner, but there are 2 runners up. Come on. Here's a view of the People's Choice Award cars from the side. Little Mini. I'm not actually quite sure what the car in the middle is. But you got a classic Lagonda on the end. Morgan, I think it's +8, which suggests V8 engine goodness. Might even be Rover 1, generated by MRAG. The Austin 6, just have a quick look underneath the bonnet of that. That's glorious. NGK spark plugs. And last but not least, this gorgeous little vintage Austin, part of the vintage Austin register. The Burt Hadley Memorial Championship 25th year. It's based on the Austin 7. Little race car. These things are were incredibly popular. In fact, Formula 1 racer Bruce McLaren of McLaren F1 team fame, and motorsport now actually, because they feature in many different series now. He started off racing in an Austin 7, so quite a significant car for not only Britain as just the standard car, but also a significant car for motorsport. I love this. This car is absolutely gorgeous. And that has been the cars here at Simply British Classics this year. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have done, don't forget to leave a like, comment down below, let me know which is your favourite car here. And of course, if you want to see more car-based content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Anyway, I've been Jake, thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Until then, farewell.